Go. Oh boy, what is up? It has been far too long. It has been 3 weeks since I've uploaded a video of any kind, but I'm back. All sorts of craziness happened. I went to my second concert in my entire life. I went to Nashville. Me, my wife, and my son became incredibly ill. It was chaos. No, but I'm back. I'm back. And today I want to talk about something kind of random. I mean, really, all of these videos are random. I mean, at this point, I don't even know if I can call them videos anymore. They're just rants. But I got this idea for a movie. Now, I don't know, what to categorize this movie as. Is it I want to say it's kind of more towards horror, but not really. You'll understand why. I'm gonna break it down for you guys. It's just an idea I've had in my head for a while, and so now I'm just kind of getting it out there. That's all. I don't expect anything to happen with it. I'm not a director. I'm not, heck, I'm not even a big movie buff, to be honest. But it is an idea I've had in my head, and who knows, maybe it's already been done for all I know. But the movie is called, I'm torn on, I want to call it Gnat, even though gnats make more sense, because typically speaking, gnats are those very, very tiny. They're not mosquitoes, they're not flies, but they're really tiny. They're annoying at best, Typically they show up when there's rotting fruit and stuff like that. They love rot. So I don't know if gnats are just super small baby flies or something. I'm not sure. I'm sure somebody out there will know. I don't. But typically, you very rarely ever see just the one gnat. It's usually gnats, which is why I'm leaning more towards calling it gnats. But gnat, for some reason, singular, sounds better to me. And so I would prefer that, but whatever. So, by the way, just before I say anything, this is my movie idea. Dabbles with some very heavy-handed subjects, so if you're emotionally weak and you can't deal with serious adult things, such as suicide or miscarriages, things of that nature, because I understand that this, especially the miscarriage thing. I understand how, well, I was gonna, I was gonna say that was more serious, but they're both pretty serious. Basically, I'm not trying to diss or disrespect or downplay miscarriages or suicides. These are very serious topics, right? So I just want to get that out of the way. I'm not trying to downplay it or whatever, but it is a part of my idea. So it focuses on this couple, a dude and his wife. I haven't thought of names for these characters, only because, besides the obvious fact, I don't really have names for them. But also, I would like them to have clever names that pertain to the movie at large. But anyway, it starts off with them coming home. It's, it's dusk. It's getting kind of dark. They are both visibly in shambles. The wife more so than the husband. We, the audience, come to find out that they've been married for several years, 7 to be exact. And they've been wanting to have a kid, and no luck. And now finally she had gotten pregnant, but then unfortunately, this is them coming back from the doctors to get the the dire news that she had a miscarriage. Hold on real quick. I just want to double check something. Okay. Yeah, I'm a rookie at this stuff. I probably should have checked to make sure we were recording before I started yapping, but here we are. Quality entertainment around here. Anywho, so, they're both in shambles. They're emotionally distraught, obviously, because of this. Like, they've been trying, and then this happens. So, because they've been trying for so long, this is kind of like the breaking point for the wife. And they have this moment once they get inside the house where she's like, I'm done. I'm done taking ovulation strip tests. I'm done, tracking periods. I'm done. She's just, which I 100% understand that for a woman, that's a miscarriage is way harder on them than it is the husband, obviously, physically, but emotionally and mentally, because then they start to think like, well, is there something wrong with my body? Their minds just begin to race at 100 miles about who, what, when, why, where regarding that incident. So this is her breaking point, and she's just like, hey, look, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And, the husband, he doesn't want to stop. He wants to keep trying, but he kind of doesn't really reveal that right away because he understands, like, hey, this is a real sensitive subject matter. Now, this is where the name of the movie, Gnats, or Gnat, comes into play. While he's talking to her about it, because like I said, he wants to keep going, but he understands that, he's kind of battling, he wants to react a little more harshly, but he's kind of, subduing his responses. That's when a gnat shows up. Now, the gnats are going to be a reoccurring thing throughout the movie. And I'm telling you right now, the husband, is the only person who can see them. That's going to be, the kind of, hidden detail, if you will, throughout the movie. So this gnat shows up, and he's, swatting at it, He's missing it. He's not hitting it while he's trying to have the serious conversation. Now, like I said, the wife can't see this gnat. She just sees her husband swatting the air. And she's just kind of a little annoyed because this is a very serious, sensitive discussion that they're having. So she's just kind of what are you doing? And he's just like, yeah, there's this gnat. It's bugging me, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so the husband decides not to convey how he really feels, which is fine, given the intensity of the subject matter. It just happened. It's understandable. So then as the movie goes on, there's going to be, we're going to get to see several points and aspects of these characters' lives. So the husband, he works in warehousing, he works with his best friend. The wife is a teacher. So she takes, again, this whole loss even harder because she's around kids all day. So we get to, we get a good look at who these characters are outside of this tragedy that's befallen them, their day-to-day lives. Him and his friend hang out at the bar after work, before he comes home or whatever. So throughout the movie, there's going to be several points where, like I said earlier, the husband's gonna be either confronted by something, a very serious situation, or he himself will be the one to confront somebody, his wife, whatever, about a serious situation. And then that's when these gnats show up, these gnats that only he can see. So, another scene that'll take place a little closer to the middle of the movie will be, again, him and his wife, he's finally working up the courage to, now that it's been a couple of weeks or whatever, he's finally worked up the courage to tell her, hey, I actually don't want to stop. I would like to continue. Like, can you reconsider? And, understandably so, the conversation escalates, and then that's when the gnats show up. Now, these gnats, like I said, like, they're also going to intensify as the movie goes on. So it was just the one gnat, a couple gnats. At this point, he's getting swarmed by like several, to the point where it's like driving him nuts. And he ends up like, because he's just trying to swat these things away, he ends up like slipping and falling down the stairs. And again, the wife can't see the gnats, only the husband can. So the wife gets super upset, and she's just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you acting like a buffoon right now? Like, is it, she connects his weird little behaviors that she's been noticing, because she could, she still sees him trying to swat these things away that aren't there. And he swears up and down that they are. So she thinks that that's his way of, like, what's the word I'm looking for? She feels like that's him, like, just totally downplaying the situation. Like you're acting like a buffoon. Like, you're over here pretending that you're surrounded by bugs. Like, what are you even doing? Like, are you not taking my pain seriously, type deal? So they have their, their altercation, whatever. Then, this is even later in the movie. Like, the movie is primarily the gnats. I want them to kind of be portrayed as like the supernatural thing, but then we'll do a rug pull on that later. Basically, what I would like is for this movie to really focus on this couple and their life and how this miscarriage is affecting them. So towards the end of the movie, they're at a party, his best friend's party, right? The one that he works with and stuff. He's a little buzzed, from partying. And it turns out that the reason why they were having a party was because you find this out, everyone finds this out after the fact, the audience, and the two main characters, the husband and the wife. We find out that it was actually like a reveal party, that they're having a child. And now, mind you, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but in terms of the miscarriage, only the wife, the husband, and obviously the doctors know that happened. The wife specifically tells the husband early on that I don't want anybody to even know that this was a thing. So the husband, drunk in his feelings, and having to sit there and watch these people, announce that they're having a baby. And because he's been bottling this up, and because he obviously, he still wants to have kids, but the wife's not having it. So he kept, again, drunk. That's part of the problem here. He lets his emotions get the best of him. And so he starts kind of like, lightweight lashing out at his best friend, and he's just like, he basically like hints at like, hey man, this could come off as insensitive to, me and my wife. We've been trying for years and this and that. And then the best friend's just like, oh, dang, like, yeah, like, you're right, my bad. And then the wife was like, uh-oh, like, the wife of our main character, like, she already knows, like, this is not going to end well. So she gets up and she's trying to tell him, like, hey, dude, like, you need to stop. Like, just let it go. Like, you need to be happy for them. That's your best friend. And so he gets irritated with her, and he's just, because, again, she's done. She doesn't care to have anymore, or try anymore, rather. So that's when he lets, the bombshell drop that, like, oh, yeah, like, we were going to have one too, but now we're not. They got taken away from us, blah, blah, blah. So the wife, like, finally has enough. She storms off crying. And, like, the best friend and the wife are, like, actually trying to be apologetic. They're like, oh, we never meant to do that, blah, blah, blah. We didn't know. And so, like, then he storms off drunk, and he's trying to He's trying to. Some jagoffs are racing on friggin' these two jagoffs are trying to race on regular streets during traffic. Friggin' yeah, these people are stupid. Anyways, got distracted. He goes home. He tries to confront his wife about it, but he's kind of like drunk, and she's just like, you're stupid, you're drunk, whatever, blah blah blah. Dude passes out. He wakes up the next day. Wife's packing her stuff. He literally wakes up to her packing her bags, packing all of her stuff. And so, he's just like, whoa, like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Blah, 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 this and that. And, sorry, I got distracted with those two idiots. There's going to be another moment before he comes home and passes out where the gnats show up again. And they're going to, like, chase him, so to speak. Like, he's just trying to get away from the gnats. I say chase, but that's basically what it is. Man, people do not know how to drive. Basically, the gnats chase him out into the middle of a road where he almost gets hit by a car. Thankfully he doesn't, and that's when he goes home, passes out. So here we are, he gets into it with her again, because he's just like, where are you going? This and that. And obviously, understandably, she's upset, and she's just like I told you, I didn't want anybody to know. And then you not only did you throw us under the bus and, let that go, but then you made them feel like crap. Like, that's your best friend. Like, how could you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And so she just takes off. Meanwhile, as per usual, anytime, like I said, when he's confronted or when he's confronting someone about this issue, about the miscarriage, that's when these gnats show up. So the gnats show up, obviously, while they're having this conversation. He's trying to not chase her. He's following her out of the house while she's got her stuff. She's getting in the car. She's leaving, going to mom or dad's or whatever. Basically like, I need some time away from you. So the gnats are like in full force. I'm talking like freaking like Egyptian plague status, right? Like, we obviously, audience, we can also see the gnats. They're just like all over him, and he's like freaking out, and he's swatting them. And of course, like I said earlier, the wife keeps thinking that he's doing that as some kind of weird like defense mechanism or something, like, because she's not stupid. It happens every time they have a talk about this. And so she just gets even more annoyed, and she's just like, I don't know what the F your problem is, I'm out of here. Like, you need to grow the F up, blah, blah, blah. And she leaves. So it's at this, we're coming to the end of the movie here. So he's trying to get away from the gnats. They keep following him. They don't let up. He's swatting them. He's running away. He ends up, running down the street, and he kind of ends up in, like, you've seen them before. They're like wooded little areas that are off of the, so like you've seen them in like nicer areas. They're wooded areas where like the streets will be kind of around, and you could get off and walk into there. I'm probably not describing it very well, but basically he's walking down the street. He comes to this like wooded area just off the side of the street, and he goes deep into this wooded area. The gnats are still chasing him. He's going nuts. He's like screaming now. He's like swatting them, right? Then finally, abruptly out of nowhere, the gnats vanish. They stop, and he's just kind of like, catching his breath and like shaking his head. That's when a cell phone starts ringing. Very loud, cuts through the music, cuts through him panning, cuts through everything. I want full attention on the phone. He hears the phone ringing. It's ringing off in the distance, so he's kind of like, he stops, he looks around, because it's still daylight, so he's not like freaked out or whatever. He just kind of like, but the phone never stops ringing. So then he's kind of like, all right, and he starts to follow what he believes is the source of the ring. So he's walking, and he keeps hearing the ringing, the cell phone ringing. Finally, he finds the cell phone. He picks up the cell phone and he looks at it, and it's his wife. It's his phone. So that freaks him out. He like checks his pockets, no cell phone. And then that's when he tries to answer it, can't answer the phone, just keeps ringing. Then he takes a look up to find his own body hanging from a tree, surrounded by gnats. He had been hanging there for what will visually look like a few days. And he's just sitting there, the cell phone in hand, still ringing, looking up at his own body hanging from the noose. Now, I'm kind of torn on how the movie would end. A part of me just wants to abruptly end it right there and then. Only because to have an epilogue with the wife, because like the wife's already gone through so much crap, like him flipping out, him making a fool of himself. And I feel like for him to take his own life at the end of it all would just be like way too mean-spirited. So I'm torn. I would prefer to just end it right there and then. But if it did need an epilogue of sorts, it would just be her, at her mom's, trying to call him now that it's been a couple days, and obviously him not answering, which just looks even worse. And I'm not sure, another part of me wanted to maybe she then finds out shortly thereafter that she's pregnant again or something, but I don't want to be too mean-spirited, and I feel like that would be just kind of pushing it. But yeah, that's my idea for the gnats. Like the gnats are something only he can see because he's actually already dead somewhere. And we're just basically tagging along for basically like the last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even month of this dude's life. So I don't know. I thought that was a cool idea. Let me know if you think that was cool. Do you think it needs an ending? Epilogue? Do you think it's okay to be that mean-spirited and just wombo combo the poor wife? And yeah, but I'm coming back. I've been gone, but I'm coming back. I got some other stuff already in the wings. And yeah, sorry for the absence. I will do better next time. All right, y'all. I will catch you next time.